All right, buckle up, everybody, because this deep dive is going to be a wild one. We're going to unpack a story that shows how sometimes one brave act can change, well, everything. You might not think a car wash attendant would be making headlines, but trust me, this is no ordinary car wash story.
You know what's really fascinating about this story? It's how it shines a light on the power dynamics between regular people and these giant corporations, and it shows how one person speaking up can challenge that power and maybe even lead to real change.
Exactly. Our source material today is this super detailed story about a young guy, Jake Martinez. He works at a car wash. Just picture it. A scorching hot Texas day. Jake's at work facing a dilemma. We've probably all been there, doing the right thing even when it's tough. And this dilemma comes in the form of a very famous, very wealthy Tesla owner who just pulled into his car wash.
Yeah, the story really sets the scene well. You get a sense of Jake's world, his background. His family is going through some tough times, and he's carrying a lot on his shoulders. The mom put all their savings into Tesla stock, and his sister Maria needs money for college tuition.
I bet a lot of you listening can relate to that. Financial worries, family obligations, dreams being put on hold. It makes Jake instantly relatable. And then, boom, Elon Musk rolls up in his shiny white Tesla.
It's like something out of a movie, right? You've got Musk with his entourage, and then there's Jake just trying to get through his workday.
Yeah.
But then something totally unexpected happens. Jake refuses to wash Musk's car.
Yeah, that's when things get really interesting. The whole car wash comes to a stop.
Yeah.
Everyone's in shock. This is not how people usually treat billionaires. The story describes people whispering, pulling out their phones to record. You can practically feel the tension in the air.
It's a total David and Goliath situation, and the author really plays up that dynamic. But what's even more interesting is why Jake does this. It's not just some random rebellious act. He lets loose with this impassioned speech about his mom, how she lost money on Tesla stock, how she believed in what Musk said, how she risked everything for a better future.
And that speech, that raw emotion, it grabs everyone's attention. It's not just complaining, it's demanding accountability. He's calling Musk out, not just for the stock price, but for the broken trust, for how his decisions impact real people's lives.
Exactly. And the story is smart. It uses Jake's speech to bring in those bigger themes, corporate responsibility, how financial decisions affect everyday people. It taps into a feeling a lot of us have, that powerful people are out of touch, that they don't care about the struggles of ordinary folks.
And the story keeps reminding us where this is all happening. This super ordinary, relatable place, a car wash. It's this brilliant mix of the mundane and the extraordinary.
Right. And this is where the video of the confrontation starts to go viral. People are sharing it online, talking about how brave this kid is to stand up to a billionaire. It speaks to wanting things to be real, wanting someone to challenge the way things are.
And here's the crazy part. Musk actually listens to Jake. He doesn't just storm off or ignore him. Instead, he asks Jake to meet him privately in Bob's office. Bob owns the car wash. Talk about a shift in power.
That's a major turning point in the story. And it's what keeps you hooked. What's going to happen behind closed doors? Will Musk fire Jake, yell at him? Or is there something else entirely coming? So now we're in Bob's office. It's this small, cramped space, filled with car wash awards and family pictures.
Yeah, it's such a contrast, right? This humble little office
Mm-hmm.
and this huge conversation about to happen. It creates this feeling like we're listening in on something really private and important.
Definitely. And Jake, he's even more fired up now after his big speech. He keeps pouring his heart out to Musk, talks about his dad passing away, his mom struggling, how Maria wants to be an environmental engineer. He really paints this human picture of how Tesla's stock going up and down affects real families.
And what's interesting is how the story shows us a different side of Musk.
Yeah.
He's not this larger-than-life figure like we usually see.
Mhm.
He's actually listening to Jake, taking it all in.
Yeah, you even get the sense that maybe Musk sees a bit of himself in Jake, someone who wasn't afraid to dream big and shake things up.
And then, here comes the moment everyone's waiting for, right? Musk takes out his phone, taps a few times, and boom. Transfers enough Tesla shares to cover Jake's mom's losses. Andy Maria's whole college tuition. Just like that, their money problems are gone.
It's such a powerful scene, right? It shows how much power Musk has. Like, he can change people's lives with a few taps on his phone.
But it also makes you think, is this really generosity or is it just a PR stunt? Is he trying to shut Jake up or was he genuinely touched by his story? The story keeps you guessing, which I think is part of why it's so captivating.
Totally. And it gets even more complex because Musk doesn't stop there. He offers Jake a job at Tesla in a brand new department called customer advocacy. He wants Jake to be the voice of the everyday investor, the person who makes sure Tesla doesn't forget about the human side of things.
Yeah. So it's not just a feel-good story anymore. It's showing how change is complicated, how it takes more than just one act of charity. By offering Jake a job, Musk is hinting at a bigger commitment to fixing the problems Jake brought up.
Exactly. And it's not just about Jake and his family either. Musk gives Bob a ton of money to upgrade the car wash, and then he promotes it on social media. All of a sudden, Bob's car wash is the place to be. It's attracting Tesla owners and all sorts of curious people.
It's a smart move, right?
Yeah.
Musk shows he's not just helping one family, he's supporting a local business too. It plays into this idea that even small actions can have a ripple effect, helping the whole community.
And let's not forget the bigger picture. The story says the whole thing was filmed and it goes viral. Obviously, Jake, the Tesla truth teller, that's what they call him. He becomes this social media star. News outlets want to interview him. He's getting job offers. There are memes about him standing up to Musk at the car wash.
It's a perfect example of how viral content works these days. One brave act caught on video, and it resonates with millions of people. It
Yeah.
sparks this massive conversation.
Right. The story makes it seem like Jake hit a nerve. People want corporations to be accountable, to be more transparent.
And through it all, Jake stays pretty grounded. He takes a Tesla job, but only after making sure his mom is taken care of and Bob's business is good. He's cautious about being famous. He wants to use this opportunity to actually make a difference at Tesla.
That's what makes the story so appealing. Jake isn't greedy. He doesn't want fame. He sticks to his values. He uses his new platform to fight for others and for businesses to do the right thing. He's like a hero anyone could be.
Exactly. It's not about becoming a celebrity. It's about using your voice to make things better. And the story keeps going. We see Jake on his first day at Tesla. He's traded his car wash uniform for a suit and tie. It's like a fish out of water, but with a twist.
Yeah, and this is where we start to see how tricky it is to make a change happen inside a big company. Jake has to come up with a whole new way for Tesla to talk to its small investors. Based on what he went through and wanting them to be more open and honest, he's gone from fighting the system from the outside to trying to change it from within.
I mean, can you imagine going from washing Teslas to sitting in a boardroom, trying to change how the company talks to its investors? Talk about a unique perspective.
Right, that's what makes this part of the story so interesting. The author really highlights that contrast. You see Jake dealing with this whole corporate world, but still holding on to who he is, the values that made him speak up in the first place.
And remember, this isn't just some made-up story. This actually happened. It's a real example of how one person's actions can have this ripple effect, touching not just their own life, but a huge corporation, the public, everyone.
Absolutely. And the story uses Jake's experience to explore these big ideas, like corporate social responsibility. It asks these questions about how companies should talk to everyone involved, especially the people who might feel ignored or like no one's listening.
Right. As Jake starts this new job, we see him facing challenges, learning the ropes, trying to make a real difference from inside the system. It's not always easy, but he keeps his eyes on the prize, making sure Tesla doesn't lose sight of the human side of its business.
And the story shows how Jake's actions are still having that ripple effect, even outside of Tesla. It mentions how other companies are watching, taking notes, rethinking how they communicate, realizing they need to be more transparent, more responsive to what their customers are saying.
It's like Jake's story is this catalyst,
Yeah.
For a bigger shift in how companies behave. Move towards more accountability, admitting that companies need to do more than just chase profits.
That's a great point. The story hints that Jake going viral tapped into something bigger in society, this growing need for ethical business practices and saying no to the old way of doing things.
And back at Bob's car wash, things have totally changed too. It's become this unofficial Tesla landmark.
Yeah.
Musk even goes there for his weekly car wash. The story talks about Tesla owners lining up for a chance to see the place where it all started. It's like a pilgrimage for fans of the brand.
It's a really clever way to show the unexpected outcomes of what Jake did and how this small local business becomes part of a much bigger story. It also plays into that idea of authenticity. Even a billionaire CEO can appreciate a good old-fashioned car wash, right?
Yeah. And the story ends by bringing us back to Jake. Even with all this craziness happening, he seems to have found his purpose at Tesla. He's not just an employee. He's a voice for the people who don't have one. He's fighting for ethical business practices, and he's proof that one person can make a difference.
It's an inspiring ending. It leaves you feeling hopeful about the possibility of change. The story reminds us that we all have a voice, and that even small acts of bravery can have a huge impact. It encourages us to think about what we stand for, what we believe in, and how we can use our own voices to make the world a better place.
That's what's so great about deep dives like this. We take a story that seems simple, and we find all these layers of meaning. We explore what it means to take action, the power of corporations, social responsibility, the power of real stories. It reminds us that there's always more to discover, more to learn, and more to talk about.
So, what about you listening? What part of Jake's story really hits home for you? What small, brave things can you do in your own life? We want to hear your thoughts on this amazing story about a car wash attendant who stood up to a billionaire and ended up changing the world around him. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep believing in the power of your own voice.